Now look, in my last Sparking Zero video, I talked about a lot of problems that the community was chatting about. However, some of them were just insignificant, or some of them just straight up didn't make any sense. So what I decided to do was scroll through your guys' comments, which was, there was a lot of them because you guys blew that video up. Thank you. We got like almost 100 subs from that. I hit 500. I was at 450 before that video. Shout out to y'all. But today we're going to get into the actual big problems and big concerns coming up with Sparking Zero. Now I think it's only right that we get into one of the biggest concerns first, which happens to be that there is no rollback netcode in the game. Now for those of you who already play Arena Fighters, this probably doesn't concern you that much, but a lot of people don't understand that most Arena Fighters, if not all of them, do not have rollback. However, between Reddit, Twitter, and my comment section, there has been a lot of talking about this, so I'm going to touch base on it right now. I'm not going to sit here and try to explain rollback in its entirety, but for a simple explanation, it gives you a small amount of input delay on each side, which just allows for a smoother gameplay experience overall. In fact, rollback is pretty much a staple of every game now, so much to the point where a game that didn't have it, Fighter Z, ended up getting it years past its release date just because so many people wanted it. Now, does that mean anything for Sparking Zero? Honestly, probably not. And this is just because there's probably a good reason that Arena Fighters never have rollback. Like, I guess I can kind of assume why this is. I mean, it's probably due to the amount of extra freedom you have in your movement. On top of like the destruction and like the high speed movement, I can assume why it would be difficult to implement. Now, this is already a top concern by itself out of pretty much everything else I've previously talked about in my last video. But you're probably wondering how big of a problem this actually is and will it affect the game that bad? And the worst part about it is I can't even give you a definite yes or no to this question. If you've played other Arena Fighters and even other Dragon Ball games, you already know that games can be so laggy to the point where it's literally just unplayable. However, the good part is that we are in a day and age of options and like filter systems. Rollback netcode is most important during matches where you guys are very far apart, or if both players' ping is just kind of higher than usual. But honestly, with all the like filter systems that we have in most online games nowadays, I feel like you can be able to choose your region and only start matches with connections you feel comfortable playing with. Now, I think where this will be a problem is if you're trying to play with your friends who like may live mad far, and when you get like high up in ranked, it might become more of a problem when there's less players around you who are that rank. But honestly, I'm kind of optimistic and not really too worried about this. I'm not going to speak on like Xenoverse 2 as of now because I don't play it anymore, but I remember back in the day that game had a trash netcode, and hopefully that is not the case day one on Sparking Zero because I will be truly upset. I think that is the one thing they could have at least done was give us at least some kind of stress test beta. I don't care if we could play 2 characters at maximum. If they stress tested the game, I would be much more confident overall about this, but as of now, I'm on the optimistic side, but it's still kind of 50-50. Now, the next main concern we have is of course going to be crossplay. Now, I'm sure you're probably tired of hearing about the fact that there's no crossplay in this game. Now, I'm not here to be an echo chamber of sadness. I'm going to try to talk about this a little bit differently. Most people have just been crying over and over everywhere about the fact that there's no crossplay and that they're not going to buy the game and that they're going to wait until it's on sale. Honestly, that's all valid. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. I'm not here to dog on these people, but theoretically, if Bandai were to drop a list of things that they were trying to implement in this game, I think number one would very likely be crossplay before rollback. Now, even though I am kind of upset at the idea that there's no crossplay, I'll be honest, I would just rather have them focus their resources into other things related to online instead of trying to squeeze out crossplay and then we ended up with a really trash online. Now, if online is not great overall and we have no crossplay on top of that, that would just suck even worse. However, earlier this year, Dragon Ball The Breakers actually got crossplay added in like its season 5 update, which actually gives me a little bit of hope for crossplay being added into Sparking Zero, hopefully not that far down the line. Honestly, I think the reasoning for no crossplay would probably be frame rate issues, which are things that only pertain to the online modes. And originally I was either going to put maps here, which is something I already talked about, but I think maps are very important. Now, the last thing that I really want to talk about is going to be the story. Now, I've been avoiding pretty much everything story based about Sparking Zero, so that I really can't talk about. So this video is going to stay completely spoiler free, but thanks to you guys in my comments, I realized and saw something that a lot of people were hating on, and that'd be the cutscenes in the game. People kept talking about how story mode was like a slideshow, and I was like so confused until I started looking around. So I watched a bit of a Nanogenics video and I was like, oh, I see it. Now, I'm not going to show any important cutscenes to represent this because I don't want to spoil anybody, so I'm going to do like a basic scene. So sometimes in the story mode, they put a picture with text and then the voiceover.
It's happening. See, so some of it is animated and then they utilize some of this to go through it. So
which is one of 3 types of cutscenes, because the other ones are the semi-slideshow, which are pretty much the same thing, but they have a little bit of movement and a little bit of animation. And then there are the fully pre-rendered cutscenes, which most people are accustomed to. Now, I'll be honest, I think this is a little crazy, but I'm not going to be too worried about it unless it's during very important cutscenes. And I have heard some people saying that it is during some iconic and important cutscenes, which is kind of bothering me, but I don't want to spoil myself or you guys too much. I will say I feel like this is a corner that they cut to provide better content in other aspects of the game, considering this isn't just a story-based game. Like, if this was something that was in Kakarot, I would be upset. But it's like, we get in the online mode and everything else and the what ifs. I'm like, I kind of see why they did this. But it's like, little stuff like this kind of makes me wonder, like, should they have just taken more time instead of dropping the game next week to put a full experience into this game? Or is it going to be a case where stuff like this seems important now, but once we get our hands on the full game, we're going to understand and it's not really going to bother us? Regardless of the outcome, I feel like this is one of those higher up concerns, especially compared to some of the ones in my last video. Because sometimes apparently it'll be like the slideshow cutscene and you'll go straight into an important fight, and I'm like, that's kind of a pretty weak build-up. Especially for people that have not seen Dragon Ball in its entirety, I feel like there's going to be a kind of a letdown on the hype building for some of these top tier moments. But honestly, between rollback netcode, crossplay, and then the story cutscenes, I feel like that's the big 3 concerns of pretty much everything I was seeing. If you have anything you think is more important than what I was talking about today, drop it in the comments. I doubt I'll make a 3rd video on this, but like, if there was enough content, I guess I would. But like, sub, follow the Twitch. I'm gonna be the #1 hit player on my soul, on everybody's soul that's watching this. I will be the #1 hit player. I'm also going to be #1 Tapion player. You're not taking that from me. I'm sorry. And yeah, peace.